know. We'll get used to it. But anyway, welcome, and tell us what's going on over to the Senior Center.
There's a lot going on at the Senior Center. So we're in the midst of we're finishing up our strategic planning. So that's exciting. So we did a survey, and we did some focus groups, and then the last part we'll be working with the board to figure out what the goals would be from what was said at the plan and through the surveys. But it was, the surveys were really interesting. It was nice to see that we're doing the things that people want us to do and like us to do. When asked, one of the survey questions was, are you satisfied with the programs and activities at the Senior Center? And 96% said yes.
And the other ones just had suggestions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so that was nice to know.
Yeah, I think that's it's an important thing to ask, especially the people that are coming and going there all day. People who don't experience it, they have, what kind of opinion could they possibly have?
Right.
So tell me this. I mean, I always like to ask you, because I think it's an impressive number as to how many seniors are coming out for lunch. And you're doing it Monday, Wednesday, Thursday now, right?
Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Plus a breakfast on one morning a week, right?
Yeah, Tuesday. We're going to change that to brunch in May.
You're going to change it to brunch.
In May, just because our breakfast crew is vacationing or retiring from doing breakfast. They've been doing it for a long time, so because it's a volunteer crew. So
right.
So we're going to try on brunch and see how it works in May.
And what will that consist of then? I mean,
or it's because we don't have lunch on Tuesday, so it'll be like a 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Kind of brunchy kind of meal.
So it could be some eggs and rolls, and it could be some ham sandwiches,
Right.
Kind of like a pick and choose.
We'll see. Yeah, Billy's making up the menus. I haven't seen them yet. So
right.
For May.
Now, are the cooks doing it right there, or is it something that's being brought in from?
For breakfast, we cook it on site.
Uh-huh.
So back to your original question, though, we get around 450 people just for lunch a year, and so. And then
now wait, 450 different people.
Different people, unduplicated.
But what's your average number per
meal?
Yeah.
And lunch, Monday and Thursday lunch, we get anywhere from 75 to 100 people. And Wednesday lunch, it's like 30 to 45 people. So it's not as big. Yeah.
Well, I mean, people, maybe they have other things to do. Maybe it's Bingo Wednesday or Bowling Wednesday. We don't know.
It could be.
Could be, quilting and take your own doggone lunch. Well, that I think that's very good. What other, now on that survey, what were some of the other questions you asked them?
Well, we wanted to see how often they use the Senior Center. And we got 183 surveys back, which is really good. Really good. Yeah, and so a lot of, it was like kind of a mixed match of age. Most of the people that answered were age 70 to 79. The second biggest group was age 60 to 69, and then the third was age 80 to 89.
Really?
Yeah. And then, but it was pretty close, all of those age groups.
Right.
And then a couple were over 90.
Well, you know what, it's getting so that we're getting more and more of them too.
Yeah, and people, we asked if you were satisfied with lunch, are you satisfied with all the different activities we have, and people were pretty much satisfied. When we got some suggestions on different things that we could do, what people are looking for, so that was good. And one of the last questions we asked was, should Oswego Senior Center have senior in the name of it? And because there's some arguments for and against that, because of, if you say senior, then people don't identify that they're a senior even though they're 85 years old, so they won't come there because it says senior. But on the other side, it says senior because it's designated for that population.
Right, it's not a daycare.
It's not a daycare.
Right.
It's a senior center, a community center for seniors, but there's an age requirement.
Now, well, it's kind of interesting because when this whole word senior started out, it was people 65.
Then Medicare,
Right, because that's where it started. Then it kind of dropped off to 62 because, well, that's when you could be eligible for Social Security. Now, in many cases, it's down to 55.
And for us, we go by Older Americans Act because we get federal funding through that.
Right.
And the Older Americans Act, which was developed like 1965-ish, says designates senior as age 60 plus.
Okay.
So that's what we
Right.
do.
Yeah, and yet sometimes you'll see, people that'll, restaurants or special church meals will be 55 and older.
Yeah, and so it gets really confusing. We get a lot
Right.
of people that are confused by that, or like,
Right.
I'm 58, I'm a senior. And I'm like, well, according to what we are funded for, you're not quite ready for us yet.
Right. Talking about funding, how is your funding been going? Are you guys hanging on there? Are you still doing okay?
We're doing okay. So we got our, our grants that we've been operating on for a long
Right.
time, and we just were awarded, I think, a little more money from the Kendall County Senior Tax Levy, which will help pay for some new space. I hope that we're getting. They should have voted in the board meeting last night about it. I haven't heard yet because I haven't been to work yet. But
You
so
mean
we're
a new location or just
no,
more?
just more space in the building that we're in. So where the goal school was, it was like there's 5 rooms. It's
Right.
just right through the library.
Uh-huh.
And so we're going to take over that space and give some designated space for a lecture room, designated space for exercise room, so don't we have to take up tables and put down tables.
And there's a risk in that. When you're moving furniture, somebody can trip or something falls down on somebody's foot,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be a senior to
No,
have.
it's fallen on my foot before.
Yeah, have something come down
Yeah.
on you and create a problem.
So we're looking forward to that. And then the other thing that we're going to do with that space is we're going to start an adult day respite program, which isn't, and there's nothing in Kendall County right now.
This is for, in other words, not for the caregiver, but for the person who might be having some issues and
Mild to memory loss,
get 'em
moderate memory loss.
to get them out of the house for the day or a couple of days so that the caregiver can
Get some respite.
have some time.
Have some time.
Now, when you talk about mild memory loss, you're not talking about somebody who might need to maybe they need help going into the bathroom, but they can still take care of their own bathroom activities.
Right, yeah, so we could, a volunteer could go with them and lead them to the bathroom and take them back to the room, or what we hope to do is incorporate our adult day service participants in some of our activities that are already going on in the senior center with the help of volunteers. So looking to go, maybe, if they have an interest in ceramics, maybe they could go and do a piece of ceramics.
Right.
Or if they are wanting to be more physically active, maybe they could take an exercise class that's offered during the time that they're there.
There's something to be said about that, because I think probably a lot of people who are starting with some issues, there isn't anybody maybe to always pay attention to them to say, okay, you know what? If you're just even sitting in this chair, you can do some arm weights, some arm lifting, some leg lifts, something like that. Just something to maybe stimulate their blood flow.
Stimulate the blood flow, prevent atrophy, because atrophy causes, more balance issues,
Right.
and problems with falling, which then causes more problems. So,
Right.
yeah.
And how many days a week would you do that?
So we're going to do 4 days a week for 4 hours is what we're looking at right now. Is what we hope to do, with hopefully getting about 8 people a day.
Oh, well, I would almost think for the caregiver to have somebody that would, that could be gone 8 hours a day, to give that person that full day of, I'm going to drop them off at 8, I'm going to pick them up at 4, but I have this day to either take a nap. But I hope that you can expand that, because I think the need is there.
The need is there. We don't have the resources to expand it to a full day program at this point. But so we want to start small so that we can see if we can be successful. And we're modeling it after another successful program up in Palatine that's been doing this for 25 years.
Now, is there going to be a charge?
There is. It's probably going to be about $35 a day.
Okay, for 4 hours.
For 4 hours.
Okay, so for a whole day, if you were going to do it, maybe $70 to $80 to do something like that.
Right.
If you moved it to that.
If we moved it to that, but we're.
I get it. And I'm not pushing you.
Because we don't have any full-time staff right now.
Right.
So.
Is this going to be done through volunteers or for paid?
There's going to be one paid staff and a volunteer.
Okay. And your paid staff member is going to do what part of the job?
So they'll be running the day at the day respite program. So
Okay.
activities and setting the schedule and
maybe
making sure everything's okay and
maybe making notes to any changes they've seen, something like that.
so and I hope to hire a social worker
Yes.
for that.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea, because I can tell you, those that I know that are caregiving, they do need respite. They do need it, you know. So you know what, when you talk about that, and I don't want to get off on some of the things, but I read an article the other day, and it was in WebMD, and it said that 1 in 6 women by age 65 are showing signs or have been diagnosed with dementia/Alzheimer's. Do you see that?
Yes. So I don't know about 1 in 6 by age 65, but we have started doing memory loss screenings at the senior center over the last 4 months or so, and they picked up. I have a full schedule usually each month, because we only offer it once a month right now. But I will tell you that I see the trend of the after age 85 50-50 shot. Definitely see that trend.
Well, and so it just happened to be that I had a doctor's appointment when I was sitting reading that article. I went in and I talked to the doctor.
Yeah.
So I said to him, and he was a cardiologist, and I said, do you see that? And he said, no.
Yeah.
He said, obviously women live longer than men, so the
Right.
chances of women getting it are much higher because they live longer. The same way when they say more women die of heart disease than men. Yes, that's true, because women live longer.
Right.
You got to die of something.
Right.
So he said the balance is not quite.
And 1 out of every 6 by age 65. I think that's a big number.
I thought that was a stretch.
I'd like to see that where they found that data, but it
Yeah.
definitely after age 85,
Right.
there's a better possibility.
Yeah, and if you've had a good life up until 85, that doesn't mean that you still don't want to live to 86 and still be able to care for yourself, that's for sure. But when you hit 85, you've had a pretty good life.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, now, there's so much for what I want to know. Tell us a little bit more about what you want us to know.
What do I want you to know? Well, May is Older Americans Month.
Okay.
And the theme this year is, to be engaged at any age.
You mean like with a big ring?
If that meets your fancy, absolutely. But no, it's being connected and being active and doing stuff. And so I think the senior center really, is that. It emulates that. We have so many different activities for people to plug into, should they want to. And the thing is people want to. It's really
yes.
nice. We've seen, over the last 4 months, I would say we get at least 5 new people a week.
No kidding.
Yeah, coming in. Sometimes they just come in for one thing or another, and then maybe we won't see them again until they need something else. But a lot of people are coming for the classes, and they're coming back, and so it's really nice.
So they're understanding that the resource is there if they want it.
Right, and no one is forced to go to the senior center. It's not like school where you're going to
You mean
get
I can't just drop off my husband and say, there, stay for the day?
You can. that would be
I'll see you on Friday.
See you on Friday. But, there's no truancy officers or anything like that coming
Well,
around.
maybe there should be.
Yeah, right. So it's a really nice to know that people are coming because they want to be there.
Yes.
And they enjoy it, and that's a really good feeling.
It is a superb, unbelievably great, not only location, but a facility with, really, the times that I've been there through the last 12 years, can't think of a better place to go if you needed to be around people, have a good meal, find a resource, somebody to talk to, whatever it is.
Go to
you
class.
guys have got it there.
Yeah. So it's adding up our exercise opportunity. We have 16 exercise opportunities a week.
Well, that's a lot more than I'm using.
Yeah. But it's nice because, you know, that we have all kinds of different things. So it goes from your kind of cardio and resistance training, which is a very popular class, the Heart and Bones class, which I've talked about before,
Right.
to Tai Chi and gentle yoga, line dancing, that's a little, gets some more cardio going, and then beanbag baseball and beanbag toss, which are, you know, you're doing something. You're standing,
Right.
you're tossing a bag, you're thinking, you're just trying to strategize.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, well, but I mean, you know, anytime you're doing something, if you're catching a beanbag, it's the reflex. If whatever it is you're doing to engage, it's the reflexes that you're doing.
Right.
You know what? We got to take a little bit of a break, and I know one of the things you want to talk about today is depression.
Oh,
And
yes.
depression screening.
And depression
We also
screening.
like to talk a little bit about the trips, because
Yep.
you know what? I don't care how old you are, you need something to look forward to.
That's very true.
And I think that those trips are a great thing to look forward to.
Yep.
This is Fox Valley Today. We're taking a little break. We'll be right back. Don't forget to come back and join us.
So, I just moved in with his family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
Maybe I have with that?
Oh, thank you. Did you see anyone's broccoli?
You moved in?
Thanks for helping us.
No problem.
You're welcome.
We'd do anything for kids. Yet 1 in 6 children in the U.S. struggle with hunger. Help end childhood hunger near you. Learn how at feedingamerica.org.
Your son wants to get a cat,
I'll really take care of it.
but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals
25.
or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Welcome back to Fox Valley Today. I'm Anne Vickery, your host, with Sandy Pastore, Executive Director of Oswego Senior Center. Sandy, just before we took the break, I brought up the fact that you wanted to talk about depression.
Yeah.
Depression isn't age related. It could happen to anyone, but seems to kind of get to the older people a little sooner. You
Right.
know?
Well, I think there's a couple things compounding that too, right? So there's the chronic diseases that often there's a correlation between that and depression. There's a lot of loss as people grow older.
Yeah.
Not only with maybe their own abilities, but loss of maybe identity because they worked their whole life and they kind of feel lost, you know, without that identity to say I am this person. You know, this is what I did. Which in America we're so very focused on that kind of stuff. And so those are a couple of the reasons. And then of course the biggest reason is, you know, thinking about how mental health was thought about and looked upon as this generation was growing up. think about mental health in the 1950s.
Oh, yeah.
60s and 70s. I mean, it wasn't really until about 1983 that there was the deinstitutionalization. And so, you have that as your foundation of knowledge for mental health, and you
Right.
might not want to talk about it with the doctor.
Right, right.
So, and so because of that, we think that if we're depressed, that we can pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. If we just get out and get some fresh air, that it'll be okay. Think about something different is maybe what people say to themselves or say to other people. And if we really think about depression as a disease, then we can treat it, right? Just like we would treat heart disease or arthritis or something like that. We would go to the doctor and we would find out what's wrong. If something was bothering us for more than 2 weeks, we would go to the doctor. And
If it lasted 2 weeks and wasn't going away on its own.
Yeah. And so that's the same with depression. So if you're having feelings of sadness or emptiness or hopelessness, if your sleep is disturbed, if you're sleeping too much or too little, tiredness or lack of energy, so that small things take a lot of effort, reduced appetite, weight loss, weight gain, anxiety, agitation, restlessness, angry outbursts, irritability, frustration, loss of interest in the things that you like, slowed thinking, speaking your body movements, feeling worthlessness or guilt, or suicidal thinking and feelings, especially in older men. So if you're having any of these symptoms, and memory difficulties too is a part of depression. So it could, you feel like you're having memory issues, you're afraid to go and find out, but it could be depression instead of dementia.
Yeah, that's a long grocery list
That
of
is a long
things.
grocery
And I
list.
think people experience a lot of those feelings in and out from day to day. I mean, you can feel sad one day, the next day you can feel anxious about something, the next day you can feel kind of lonely. I mean, we
So
all
if
are.
it's going on for 2 weeks or more, though,
Right.
maybe you should think about talking to somebody
Yeah.
about it, because there's so much good that can come from just expressing yourself to another person, to a professional that has an understanding of this. So it's like emotional relief is what it's called.
Yeah.
And then it stops it from going in a circle around in your head, and it kind of just lets it down a little bit and tethers you to outside of yourself, and so it helps.
I can't say that I have never, that I've always been emotionally healthy. I think we've all gone through times. But I can tell you that for my own personal point of view, going out for a good, long, strong walk alone, and sometimes, as much as I hate to say it, because now you're going to think I am crazy, but a lot of times when I'm walking, especially out alone around the pastures, I talk to myself. I get out some of those feelings that I'm feeling, you know?
And I think that's
I
healthy.
do come back feeling, well, I got that.
I got that out.
I got that out.
Well, and I think that's important to be self-aware and know what you can do to help yourself. And then if the funk lingers after you've been doing that,
Yeah.
then that's, maybe it's time to talk to somebody else.
Right.
But yes, vigorous walks are good because it increases the dopamine in your brain, which makes you
And-
feel good.
Yeah, and I always feel better because I think, well, first it aids, it's like they said, aids in digestion, but, but anyway, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, so we're offering depression screens at the Senior Center on the third Wednesday of every month. So they'll be from 9 to 11, and it's a half-hour appointment, and it's a screen that we'll do, and we'll just talk about what's going on, and then I can give you some resources and referrals for where you would be comfortable in talking to somebody or not, whatever.
And where do you get your resources to screen? I mean,
Well, because I'm a social worker, I have the tools that I got through grad school and through there's different PHQ-9, different valid questionnaires that they're like validated tools is what they are.
And
same with memory screens.
Right, same way with memory screens. And
Yeah.
I know that when they put people through memory screens, they ask them usually you know, to a certain maybe 10, 15 different questions and score them then on that.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, it's the same with depression screens. And then, you know, when you're looking at people that are older, you also have to be concerned about memory screens too. So if I think that maybe there's a memory concern happening too, I might talk about memory issues as well.
Well, I can't think of anything more depressing than to sit there and, I mean, we all have moments where you kind of zone out, you know, where somebody asks you a question, you say, oh, I should know that. Oh, I forget their name. Oh, why can't I think about that?
Yeah.
You know, we all have those moments. But I think if they are something that happens oftentimes, you internally are knowing something, why can't I do this?
And there's lots of reasons why it might be happening. So so back to memory loss, it could be depression. It could be medications that you're taking. I mean, it could be that you have a genetic profile towards the dementia family of different things going on. But, you know, it's good to know where you're at and then be able to go and talk to your doctor about it.
You know, I want to ask you a question. Would you, do you agree with people going for that, well, it's not like Ancestry.com, it's maybe 33.com or whatever, or you can get a basic profile of some of the things that you might be genetically predisposed to. Do you agree that people should do that, or do you think that's a good idea?
I don't know. You know, it's really up to the person and how much they can handle of what's going to come back.
Know?
I don't want to know personally.
I don't either.
Just, you know, I don't, just on a personal level. But I understand people wanting to know that if they have a lot of different things going on in their genetic history that are concerning to them.
Well, I think if I knew that we had a genetic kidney problem in our life, that if it could be attended to early enough, yeah, I would do that. You know, but I don't think I would go for the test that would tell me if I had some other major genetic problem that could, you know, keep me scared.
Right, and there's some ethical deliberation, because like there's brain scans that you can get that show if you have a predisposition towards Alzheimer's disease.
Because your brain is shrinking. Well, your brain shrinks anyway.
I can't remember, but they've been able to figure it out. But the problem is you may never have symptoms of dementia.
Right.
Even though you have Alzheimer's. And so how will that affect your life and your lifestyle with the burden of it?
Of thinking that,
that it could happen without it actually maybe it will never manifest.
Yeah, I think they get a brain scan with me, they find out 3/4 of it's already missing. Anyway, I know you want to get to the trips. We only got about a minute left. Why don't you
All right, so we got Colorado coming up. You know, you want to get your Rocky Mountain High.
Yeah, maybe in more ways than one since they legalized pot, huh?
Yeah, so August 11th through the 19th, that's going to be a fun trip. Cape Cod just has maybe one seat left in September. Door County and Fireside Theater, that's going to be in October. That'll be a pretty drive up there in October. And then Rose Parade, December 30th. That's a flying trip out to California. And day trips, I know Kelly's getting some more day trips together. We're going to Pierogi Fest in July 27th. And I know she has a winery trip set up too, and I can't remember the date of it.
Nothing like a bunch of drunk seniors coming back on the bus, huh?
Right.
Okay. Well, thanks very much, Sandy, for coming over today. I'll probably see you in a couple of months. I'm going to be a little bit on a sabbatical here for a while. But Sandy will be on the radio every month with Mike or Chris, so make sure you tune into that. Thanks for joining Fox Valley today. We'll see you next time.